Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pro Football Historian channel. I'm your host, Link Given. Today, we'll be discussing the LA Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers, and what happened in their 2021 season, as well as the future. Obviously, they hold the 17th pick in this year's draft. They're going the second year of their new scheme under Brandon Staley as head coach. And offensively, you got Justin Herbert in his third year, and you're retaining most of that talent on the offensive side of the ball, as well, even, possibly improve the right tackle, which is their glaring need right now. So the start of the season against Washington, Fitzpatrick started for Washington early in the game, and it's a good win for the Chargers. I think, from outlook, you're going to the season like, okay, the defense is pretty good for Washington, but how the Chargers play, they picked them apart pretty much. And it was only 20 points, but, it worked really well for the Chargers. And I don't know if it was really an upset. It was one of those close games. You didn't know who was going to win, maybe. But, Fitzpatrick gets hurt pretty early, and Heineke most of the way. And I'd say overall, both these teams somewhat disappointed. Chargers not as much, but Chargers had an opportunity, obviously, we'll go through the whole season, to make the playoffs. They had multiple games they could have won. And obviously, people are going to discuss the fourth down decisions, which, if they win for them this year, I don't see it changing. Maybe you can say they got the bad breaks and things will change. Who knows? But I think they're going to go with that same mindset. Maybe the defense will be better, so maybe they'll, because their strength was their offense, and maybe defensively, if they're better, they will possibly not go for it as less. Now, right now, in week 2, they played Dallas. They lost a close game, last second field goal. I know Herbert threw a couple of interceptions, and I won through 2. I think one was in the end zone, which wasn't great, but I can't remember pounding, any of that. But either way, Diggs' interception as well as Casey. And Prescott didn't even play. I mean, completion-wise, stat-wise, he's pretty good. Just had a lot of rushing yards. That was the thing with the Chargers. They could not stop the run. I'm saying this leaves. As long as you're not a bottom 4 run defense shouldn't be too much of an issue. You can win with bad run defense, but if you're one of the worst, teams can take advantage of that. Then they play the Chiefs. That's where they went for fourth downs, and actually it helped them win the game. So it didn't always hurt them. But this game, it turned out to work for them. They picked up Mahomes twice, sacked him twice. Herbert threw 4 touchdowns, played really well. Didn't run the ball a ton. Probably could have ran more, but anyway, they won the game. Pulled off the upset victory. And that was in KC, so very good win. They're 2-1. Play the Raiders. Team ultimately would lose at the very end of the year, which people will remember as one of the best games of the year. But they win this game, on Monday Night Football. And there's ugly offense for the Raiders. Defense played pretty well for the Chargers, you can say. And Herbert played well again. Then they play the Browns. Complete shootout. Could not stop the run at all. But Browns couldn't stop the Chargers. So you can see most of these games, the Chargers offense played pretty well, especially in this stretch. Last 3 or so games, week 2, week 3-ish, maybe week 5. Really good play. Herbert 4 touchdowns again. Got some rushing, touchdowns as well. 5 total touchdowns for Herbert. And Mayfield, mostly the running game, McChubb and all of them. Pretty much had a great day rushing the football. And again, that was the Chargers' issue for most of the year. He did have a good game in Cincinnati, which we'll talk about, but played Baltimore. And they just got slaughtered in this game. Fourth downs didn't work. And it just, once the first fourth down failed, didn't get it. It really just, Ravens just kept scoring and, didn't really look back. Even though they got 2 interceptions of Jackson, a lot of rushing attempts. And again, that's their issue. And passing game for the Chargers didn't do great, and they couldn't run the ball. I see really no rushing yards. They didn't even try to run the ball. had a bye week, played New England, and another pick six late in the game. Which I think this is more of a Jared Cook thing, which I've seen it with him when he was on the Raiders, with Derek Carr throwing him pass to the sideline for whatever reason, miscommunication, pick six, and ultimately even a garbage time touchdown with 40 seconds. I wouldn't say garbage time, but obviously we need the onside another field goal to tie it. But either way, Herbert not a great game again, and New England just try to run the ball as much as possible, and it worked out for them. Play the Eagles. Close game, did come out with the victory. The Eagles were not very dominant at this point, if you even want to ever call them dominant, but you would think with this great Russian team, but they weren't that kind of team at this point of the year. They had a good amount of rushing yards. They did have 39 attempts. It was like the start of it. And it was a good game all around on both sides of the ball, but ultimately the Chargers pulled off the victory. And the Eagles season changed from there, honestly. Well, maybe that game and the Raiders game. But, yeah, then they played Minnesota. They lost to Minnesota, a team. They got on a losing streak. They just couldn't find ways to win other than the Eagles game in this stretch. Couldn't do much rushing. Wasn't a great day for Herbert. And then the Vikings did whatever they could, whatever they wanted to. Just not much from the Chargers in terms of defense or offense in that game. They did get 20 points, but then this game, the defense did not come to play. Well, the first half, maybe. First three quarters, you could say. Just the 27 points by the Steelers. And the Steelers did do against Minnesota as well, this kind of performance late in the game with Big Ben. But, Herbert was amazing. He ran for 90 yards in this game. 3 touchdowns. I think the interception wasn't that great, I'm pretty sure. But either way, Chargers stopped the run. Steelers were not a good rushing team, though. Offense, it was like if the offense didn't come to play, the Chargers weren't winning games. Played Denver. And you think the Chargers would win this game against Denver, but that's not the case. Another pick six late in the game, 70-yard. Again, went right off the hands of, I think the running back, could be wrong though. Went right to the sideline, intercepted, return for a touchdown, basically game over. Chargers scored a late touchdown, so there's not much going for the Chargers in this game. Herbert 2 interceptions to throw for 300 yards, but a lot of that was more the end of the game. Again, they didn't try to run the ball. And Broncos, fairly well, even with 2 quarterbacks. Did enough to win. In the Bengals game, this was more of a shocker in terms of the defense. They actually stopped the run very well in this game. Mixon was one of the top 5 leading rushers, I think, this year. They had 54, 19 carries. And he even had a fumble. That fumble was a big play in the game. I believe it was the one that was returned for a touchdown. I think this was that play. And that basically closed the door, making it, the Bengals were trying to come back because it was at one point 24-0. It became 24-22, and then the fumble. Kind of like the Steelers game. They just allow teams to come back. They can't put them away. Can't run the ball, and you can't. You don't have a great defense. So they did beat the Bengals. One of the better games. You look on paper, from the end of the year perspective, they beat a Super Bowl team. But the Giants, the 21 points, most of it again was late. We talked about the Giants game in the Giants video, but great deep pass from Herbert. Find the receiver. It was Jalen Guyton, 59 yards. And again, Giants not very good. A lot of stats was late in the game when it didn't matter. So they blew out a team they should. And they play the Chiefs. This is a game. They had so many opportunities in this game. I mean, it's hard to even remember. There was these, the multiple fourth downs conversions they couldn't convert. fumble near the end zone. I think there was one. There's just so many plays they could have ended this game. And the Chiefs went into overtime, got the ball, and just went down and scored. Again, both quarterbacks, even though I know Patrick Mahomes threw an interception to Owusu, I think, who's now on the Seahawks. But again, they had the opportunity. They ran the ball decently well, the Chargers, and threw it enough. They had their opportunity to win this game. They didn't, and that really put them in a spot where, okay, you beat teams you expect to lose, you didn't expect to win, even though you lost to the Broncos. And the Texans not a very good team, but they could not stop the Texans. It was one of they won this game. They're in the playoffs pretty much, and they lose a game they should win. Really big upset in the year, one of the bigger upsets of the year, I should say. 22 carries for Burkhead. They just pounded them. And Burkhead, and this is not a great rushing team. This is probably the worst running back group in the league, arguably. There's some ones like Miami and stuff, but if you look at the healthy roster, they didn't have like David Johnson and stuff like that. Mark Ingram, who eventually got traded. Again, Herbert struggled. He didn't struggle with 2 picks for big plays in the game. And there was that one late in the game, which basically ended it for the Chargers because they were down, good amount, 3-score game. Well, I shouldn't say 3. It was 11 points a game, and then it went to an 18 after the pick 6. And I know the Chargers scored late, but ultimately didn't matter. So then you're like, okay, lose this Titans team. Just beat the 2 division rivals that you should be expected to beat. And they do beat Denver. Quarterback gets hurt, pretty sure, in this game. Actually, I'm mistaken. I guess the first game was when he got hurt, Bridgewater. That's why Drew Lock came in. But either way, they shut down for the most part the run. And Luke Lock didn't do a lot. Didn't have a bad game, just didn't do a lot. And Herbert played well. They ran the ball okay. Got out with the win. And then it's the season finale. Game 272, whatever you want to call it. Chargers had some miracle, great, just awesome drives. Put them in position to tie it up, get to overtime. Multiple 4th-down conversions that are very long. It was like 6 4th and 10 or so conversions by the Chargers at the end of this game. And I know it was like a 4th and 20 for a touchdown. They tie it up, and then you're thinking maybe this is going to be a tie where both teams get in the playoffs. Ultimately, that did not happen. People argue about the very end of this game, but would I have done it? No, but I don't really fault them. Ultimately, the Raiders got the first down late in the game. They kicked the field goal, and they went to the playoffs, and the Chargers didn't. So, make or break game, and they didn't ultimately do what they need to. They had multiple games this year. They could have made it. And that was the Chargers season. We look at Herbert's stats, and he threw a good amount of interceptions, 15 of them. There are a lot of quarterbacks in the league, if you looked. Surprisingly, all threw around 13 to 15 interceptions, some 17, like Lawrence and Stafford. But very few quarterbacks didn't throw that amount of interceptions. Even 10 or 11 where Zach Wilson and Lamar Jackson didn't play full seasons. Rodgers obviously threw 4. We had some other guys, Russell Wilson didn't play a full season, through 6. Went through 7. But either way, 38 touchdowns, pretty good, 5,000 yards. Which you don't even think about it. He threw for 5,000, but he did. No 1,000-yard rusher, 12 touchdowns for Eckler, though. Even Herbert had 300 yards with 3 touchdowns. That was the Chargers season in a nutshell. There's opportunities to make it the playoffs and just didn't. Now let's go to the draft. Now they have him getting a defense tag, which they do kind of need that role. They tried to fill with Tillery a few years ago, and Just hasn't happened in the scheme they played to get a defensive tackle. Obviously, they got Khalil Mack and guys in trades and free agency to help them across the board, but that is still a need. Now, another thing they could do is get an offensive tackle. I don't know where they have him in this mock, if he even got picked. Doesn't look like he did. But obviously, Charles Cross and the other two tackles probably not going to fall here. But trying to get the guy's name. I guess they don't have him. But again, tackle is a thing that could happen in this pick. They need a right tackle badly. Don't really expect anything else. I mean, they got obviously defense tackles a need. Secondary is really good. Linebacker, possibly. You lost Kaiser White, but you're getting the guy back from injury. So there's not a lot of holes on this team. It's just they need maybe a few more guys that can help role player wise on the defense to play the scheme they're trying to play. Other than that, they did address most of those holes in the roster. So in the next video, we'll be talking about the New Orleans Saints, and then we'll be discussing the Philadelphia Eagles. And we'll be pretty close to the draft at that point. We'll have another week or two of off-season previews. Again, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you like it. And we'll be back to you next week with another video or two. And goodbye, guys.